Yes, you guys, I hope you're doing well. I'm Nimi FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and welcome to the match preview of our upcoming game in the Carabao Cup against Man United tomorrow night. Now, I know earlier on this season we lost 4-0 to Man United. I still stand by my stance and my opinions after that game. It was a complete fluke. It's never going to happen again. I thought that we were the reason for why we lost against United. At that time, we had a fairly new defence that hadn't really played too much together. There were some issues with the team's pressing in general. And of course, that attacking cohesion wasn't the same. But since that game, we've come such a long way. We've seen great performances against Liverpool, Ajax, plus many more. And I feel like we're the favourites tomorrow night against Man United. Now, before I get into things, today's video is brought to you by the OneFootball app. And as I'm constantly telling you guys, if you download the OneFootball app before a match day, you'll be able to use a lot of the interactive features on the app. It's very useful to find out some key stats and information about our opponents, fixture news, all the type of stuff that you'd want. If you haven't given it a go yet, it's free, it's in the description below. And before we do move into the press conference, obviously, if you like today's video, don't be a pagan. Don't forget to smash that like button. Help me get over 1,500 likes. And we move straight into the press conference. Now, we get straight into the press conference, starting with the first question asked to Frank Lampard. And that was how he feels about us winning 7 games in 7, with Lampard saying that he's happy with the team's improvement. It's something the team have been striving for to improve since pre-season started, and that's very good to hear. We move on though. Lampard was asked about that 4-0 loss to United at the start of the season. Lampard said that the game felt like a million miles away. It's like we're so far from that point now. We're so much better. Honestly, I've forgotten about that game as well. But anyway, we go on. Lampard said that even though he isn't disregarding that loss, when you play a team like United and you don't focus, you can lose even if you play well. We go on. Lampard was asked about winning something this season, with Lampard saying that the team are targeting all trophies, and that's exactly what you want to hear. Lampard is Lampard. The guy has high standards. He's always had high standards whenever he's represented this club. He doesn't patronize young guys because these guys have been constantly winning throughout their careers. So it's nothing new. It's about translating that into the first team, and I like that Lampard is putting that pressure to win on these guys so they understand what it means to represent this club. I'm going to go on though, you guys. Lampard actually defended Hudson-Odoi. He said that he spoke to Cal. Cal said that he felt contact, and of course that's why he went down, and we saw the replays. I mean, it was clear. And Lampard tried to, sympathise with Sean Dyche, even though I don't know why. I thought Sean Dyche has been a bit of a prick, you guys, in my personal opinion. Lampard said that maybe Dyche didn't see things from the right camera angle, which has been very nice, but I think Dyche knew what he was doing. And Lampard said that he feels like maybe VAR should have been called in this moment. And I think so. And, VAR is quite weird. I think there's more positives to VAR than negatives. And honestly, how many times have referees been forced to use VAR in every single game? There was this one moment for me where Zaha was through on goal against Arsenal and he got brought down. And he got a yellow card immediately. And I was just thinking, if we never had VAR, then Zaha would have kept that yellow card. That could have affected him throughout the season. It would mean that Palace didn't get the opportunity to get that penalty, to maybe get something in the game. And that 2-2 game with Arsenal and Crystal Palace could have become something completely different. And, when you can see just how obvious the penalty was, and the referee still gave Zaha a dive, I'm sorry, the referees in this country need VAR. And it's best for them to understand and get used to the system instead of us getting rid of it and relying on human decisions, because they've shown time and time again they can't keep up with the pace. And anyway, you guys, to end the press conference, Lampard did hint that expect us to see rotation in tomorrow's game. It makes a lot of sense. We've got a lot of players out injured at this moment in time. The last thing that Lampard wants to do is put further stress on players by, overplaying them and exhausting them. So expect us to do a lot of rotation in tomorrow's game. And this leads on nicely to the second part of today's video. You guys know what that part is, the predicted lineup for the game against Man United. Now, we move into the second part for today's video. That's none other than the predicted lineup. And against Man United, I think we could have a very interesting team against them. Now, of course, I've gone for the 4-2-3-1 formation. In defence, I've gone with Kurt, Zouma and Tomori. I think if we use Zouma and Tomori, we can keep that defensive cohesion. I think if we do bring in another defender, that could cause some imbalance at the back. Now in goal, I originally picked Kepa because I think that maybe Kepa and our defense could maybe play a bit more together to get more experience, because at times there can be a few sloppy mistakes. And I think if we can nip that in the bud, we'll be a much stronger and better team going in the future. But I think that with Lampard and obviously being fair to his squad, I see Caballero starting in goal. And we move to the fullback areas, it has to be Emerson and Reece. It has to be those two players. I think there was a reason why Emerson wasn't used in the last game, because Lampard doesn't want to rush him back and mess up that defensive cohesion. So against United, we should be seeing him playing finally at left back. And down the right, with Reece starting the final half an hour against Burnley, that kind of indicated to me that Lampard was thinking of using him for the game against United. Now in midfield, I've gone for Billy Gilmour and Cover. I think with Jorginho, the guy needs a bit of a rest. And with the squad being a bit thin at the moment, the last thing Lampard wants to do is put extra pressure on first team players. Imagine if we picked up any more injuries. A touch wood that doesn't happen, but I don't even want to think about that, you guys. Let's go straight to the attack, and I've gone for Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount and Christian Pulisic. With Willian, I think he could get a rest. With Pedro, and I'll tell you guys this straight, Lampard and Pedro have had a bit of a falling out right now. That's why Pedro hasn't been playing. Now, if Pedro plays against Man United, that could indicate and imply that Lampard and Pedro have moved on from the incident. But the main reason why the issues have come in the first place is because Pedro is unhappy with the lack of game time. But I'm sorry, it was a similar situation to Pulisic. He lost his place in the team. He obviously has not done enough to get his place back in the team. And I'll be honest, I'd be really surprised to see Pedro playing in tomorrow's game. And to complete things with the team, I've gone for Michy up front, and I think this is quite obvious. There's a reason why we never saw him play against Burnley. There's a reason why Giroud did play, because Lampard's probably thinking, listen, against Man United, Michy, you'll start that game, so don't worry about it. Now, before I finish, I've gone for Pulisic down the left-hand side and Hudson down the right, because I think they may be the starting positions, but as the game goes on, I think we'll see these guys swapping positions. So really, it doesn't really matter who starts on the left or who starts on the right. Still though, you guys, give me your predicted lineups in the comment section below. Do you think we might see a different formation, or do you think we might see other young players getting opportunities in the team? Maybe Ian Maatsen over Emerson? If you guys think that, make sure you comment below. Now, to end today's video, we move on to the tactical segment. And to start with, I have to tell you guys, I'm not too sure whether United will use a back four system or a back three system. For the sake of today's video though, I'm going to go for United using a 4-2-3-1. United's game plan will be to minimize the spaces we play in, as well as having a counter-attacking threat of their own. First of all, let's start with how United are going to defend off the ball. Now, when United use a 4-2-3-1, what tends to happen is the fullbacks tuck inside more and the wingers drop deep. And in tandem, this forms a back six defense. Now, you might be thinking, Nini, what does it mean to close down the spaces and to limit the space we play in? Well, using a flat back six means that United can see all the play in front of them, and it means that they can have an extra man to deal with the player in the half space, and of course they have an extra man to deal with the fullback out wide. United would look to create those defensive overloads in the wide areas. Of course, their midfield player would tuck infield more, and then they'd hope to win possession of the ball and kickstart counter-attacks of their own. So what you'll see is guys like a Martial, for example, making outfield runs to the channels out wide, where he can become a passing option to help kickstart the counter-attacks or to help bring his teammates into the game. However, there can be an issue with using a flat back six system, and that's because it's very flat. And due to that flatness, it means there's no depth in behind, there's no extra line of protection behind defenders. So this means that if you are a good team, and if you have players that know how to operate in those spaces and create movement with their runs, it means that players can make runs in between United's defenders. And by doing this, the plan is to disorganize the defense, because then United defenders have to take responsibility by themselves and deal with that threat. So once that happens, that's when disorganization kicks in, And this is where you're hoping to create chances against a very defensive team of this nature. I also think another weakness of defending like this is that there's a lot of defensive responsibility on both wingers. And you have to realize that they need to come back to defend, as well as having that attacking threat in the final third. They're only human, especially young players as well. Their fitness levels aren't like that. To play box to box throughout the entire game like that, naturally over time, players are going to get tired. And if we're patient and still in the game, we can create some effective build-up play in the wide areas. And we can do this by overloading to certain sides of the field. So for example, if it's ball side on the right hand side, the team's shape is going to shift more to the right hand side. And we've seen us do this time and time again, most notably against Ajax, where, we tended to attack mainly down the left hand side. Playing this way means that the fullback can hold his position and take a man out of the game. If you've got Mason Mount that's looking to create space by, making runs in between defenders to allow guys like Hudson or Pulisic to run with the ball, that's how we can get past United. Now, of course, if Gilmour does play, which I think he will, there is going to be some pressure on him because, with United and their counter-attacks, most of their counter-attacks will fail than succeed. And that means that Billy has to be very effective in possession and how he uses the ball. It needs to be quick, it needs to be sharp. We're a team that likes to counter press, we like to close down opposition players to, force them to make mistakes. So once that happens, it means that Gilmour could have a lot of possession. So let's hope that he really utilizes it and is very effective with his use of the ball. I feel very confident in the player. We saw that against Grimsby, but against United, it's going to be pretty different. And United do have physicality in midfield. Now, before I end things, we need to respect United on the counter-attack. They're very fluid at times, and that's because at times Rashford might move more in field to link up with Martial. And because both players have pace, they like to get past their man, they run the channels really well, we need to limit what they do on the counter-attack. So guys like Martial and Rashford will look to, most times make runs in behind our fullbacks whenever we get dispossessed in the final third. At times they might move more in field. You might see guys like Pereira or James tucking inside, staying deeper. This way guys like Martial and Rashford could go man v man against our centre backs. And that way, whenever United were on the ball, looking to play quick, direct passes straight to their strikers, you'll tend to see guys like Rashford and Martial making runs in these spaces here. And most times off the ball, they'll look to hold their positions in these areas here. And doing this stretches defensive lines. Let's say that Rashford has the ball here and he's looking to, carry it into this area. It means that either Reece or Zuma will have to deal with him. And once they do, then obviously our defensive line isn't going to be on point. And when you have guys like Pereira or James that will look to support the forwards in opportunities like this, then of course they can pose a danger. But as I've been stressing, I think our best bet is to try and pin United out wide and try to contain them in their own half. I feel like we have the players that have the movement, the speed of play, the skill as well, to really get through United and make something happen. So for that reason, you guys, my score prediction for tomorrow's game is going to be 3-1 to us. Yeah, I know that I'm being very ambitious, but I think like we can get goals against United. Still though, you guys, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. In the comment section below, give me your score predictions and tell me the players that you'd like to see in the lineup in tomorrow's game. I'm going to wrap things up, you guys, and keep it moving. Thank you for watching. I'm NeemyFC. This is Blue Line CV. See you guys in a bit.